How you doing? And of course, it is time for another episode of the Woman Who Roar IGTV series. And today's guest is a social influencer. She has over 6 million people that follow her across her platforms. She's a radio personality. She is an actress. She is just doing the damn thing. And I am so excited to have her. Hold on, I'm trying to pin this comment here. Let's get it together. There we go. And I'm so excited to have her today on the series because she is doing so much in the Latino community. She's doing so much for women. And she's just had a really interesting career, hosting at the Latin Grammys, working with brands like Pepsi, Ford, Nissan, Latina, Telemundo. So she's got a lot of accolades under her belt, and I think that we should all learn from her and really take in the magic that she has been able to create for herself by living out loud. I think one of my dreams, and I know a lot of the dreams of a lot of my followers, is to figure out how we can make a living and make money by staying true to who we are at the core and really being able to live out loud. And RaqC has been able to figure that out. So I'm just waiting for her to join in now so we can link her in. Darn it, my notebook fell. And so we can have this great conversation. And I'm really excited to have you guys tune in. Actually, today is our 1 week anniversary. Woohoo! 1 week anniversary of launching the series. And since then, the support has been absolutely amazing, has been super encouraging, and really just getting me through this time. This series has brought me peace. It has allowed me to focus on something during this madness. Hey, Sue. And just really has been an escape for me during this time. And I wanted to bring this to the community, my community specifically, because I think it's really important for us to have these outlets and these ways for us to escape and just be able to get some type of normalcy, whatever that means for us. And this series, hey RaqC, I see her. I'm just waiting for your request, mama. And this series is really a way for me to remind myself of my why and my purpose. And I'm really excited to bring you into that space with me. And so that we can learn, we can grow, and we can really level up for our post-pandemic come up, which has been my motto as of late. All right, let me bring in RaqC without further ado so we can get this started. Waiting for that to connect while I drink my cafecito, my boss lady cup.
Hi, beautiful.
Hey, beautiful. How are you doing?
I'm good, baby. How are you? Excited to be talking to you. How are we kind of matching?
I know. It's that Latina spice that we got together. That's what that is.
It's that synchronicity, girl. Synchronicity is no joke.
Exactly. So I was telling the folks before you joined in how this series, the Woman Who Roar series, is like a release for me, an escape from all of this madness, and just a way to connect with women who have always admired online and who have wanted to build a relationship with. And this series has allowed me to do that. So I'm so excited to have you on because
I'm honored. I love to share my energy and my story and just a lot of positivity, especially around this time that everybody is in a state of scatterbrain, fearfulness, and the media doesn't help on top of that.
Definitely.
So it's like it really is up to you to maintain your own sanity,
Absolutely. And shout out to everybody in here. I see DJ Self in here. I see a lot of others. Thank you for tuning in. So let's get right into it because I'm really excited for everyone to learn about you. I've had the chance to go through your bio and your press kit and all of these new things that I learned about you. I was like, oh my God. This is the universe working. There's a reason why you were on this show. So first I wanted to talk about, maybe share a little bit about what you do. So you are a social influencer. You used to have, be on the morning show on radio. Like talk us through kind of the beginnings and where you are right now, professional wise.
So, I started my career. A lot of people don't realize, and I'm about to get comfortable in here.
Get comfortable.
A lot of people don't realize that I started my career in radio fresh out of high school. And I always knew, and I would always tell my parents, I want to be a reporter either on Fox or Univision, because being the hybrids that we are, we grew up watching English TV and Spanish TV, you know,
Right.
at least I did in my home.
Yeah.
So I always call this generation, we are the hybrid generation. Don't tell me to speak English and don't tell me to speak Spanish, because I'm going to speak both, because that's what makes me feel comfortable. And I do it very naturally. And I think a lot of people that grew up that way, whether you grew up in a Latino household, an Asian household, whatever type of household, and you're bilingual, you can relate to that somehow, some way. And so I would always tell my parents, and I used to be obsessed with high-speed pursuits, literally, and I still am. And so when I was little, and all this has a reason, because a lot of what you focus on without even realizing that you're putting energy into it, it'll manifest in your life eventually, right? So I used to have my brother, we would see a high-speed pursuit coming down the freeway close to where we lived, and we would jump into his car, and I would go on the freeway, and I would pretend that I was reporting live, and like, reporting live, we're on the 5 freeway, where a vehicle is about to pass us traveling 105 miles per hour. And I would pretend that that was me in the future. And so growing up in a small town here in California, which is like around 30 minutes from LA, I would always tell my family that I was going to work in a tall building, because I would translate those tall buildings into like success. You know, like if I worked in a tall skyscraper and I used to have to use a key card to go up the elevator, you know, your imagination is so wild.
Right. I love it. I love it.
And I still have a crazy imagination.
I love how you went from high chase pursuits to corporate building.
Girl, yes. You know, balance.
Right.
And so, you know, one day I ended up going to a club with my sister's ID, right? I mean, it wasn't a fake ID because it was hers. And I got into a club here in Hollywood. And I remember seeing these 2 radio personalities that I admired so much. And I saw them rocking the mic at a club. And I was like, that is what I could see myself doing. Like, how fun to get paid, rocking a club, you know, having a little drink. And I remember going up to that guy and I said, what did you do to get to where you're at? And I, you know, and a lot of times I think that whether you're a radio personality or a celebrity, you're used to women coming up to you for the wrong reasons. And so he was like, I felt like I stood out to him. And I said, listen, I'm not, like, I admire who you are, but like, I want to do what you do one day. Right. And he was like, okay. And so he's like, are you open Friday to come up to the radio station? And I said, yeah. So I went up to the radio station. I was working a full-time job. I was full-time in college. And girl, I called in sick because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to have the opportunity to do this again, right? And I remember sitting there as a young, I think I was still 18, about to turn 19, and sitting there in the radio studio saying to myself, these guys cannot get paid to do this. Like this no way. Like all they're doing is hooking up people with family 4-packs to Disneyland, playing music, live in the mix. Like, I could see myself doing this. Right. And then that really lit a fire inside of me to say, this is what I'm going to pursue. And so before you knew it, I had landed an internship there. They had told me that I could only intern for 1 semester in college, which was 5 months. Mm-hmm. I ended up interning there 2 semesters, which is 10 months. So I was there as a sponge. So I always suggest to anybody that wants to enter any kind of career, nursing, communications, anything you want to do, start with an internship, because it allows you to really get your feet wet and say, can I do this? Do I like this? Or no, maybe, you know. And so I loved my internship and I just soaked up all the information. And then from there, I got my first radio gig in Palm Springs, which was like Market 122. It's a little city here in California. Uh-huh. And then after that, I got the opportunity to do Spanish radio in Chicago, which was completely out of my comfort zone. Mm-hmm. Like, even though I am fluent in Spanish, my first language is English, right? So I was like, Spanish radio? Like, no. But then I really believe that God guides us, and, you know, there's no coincidence that any type of opportunity is being presented to you. So I said, let me just go with it. And so I went. My Spanish got better. I was 1,000% uncomfortable. I learned how to be responsible. I learned how to pay my bills. Like, you know, I just learned so much about myself being out in Chicago by myself. And then I came back to LA. So in 5 years, I traveled, right? I started with an internship here at home. Then I went to Palm Springs. Then I went to Chicago. Then I came back to LA in 2005. And I landed, you know, my first gig on LA radio in 2005. And I rocked on LA Airways for around 11 years on traditional radio. And so it was so fun. So fun. Don't regret nothing about it. Taught me everything I know and really taught me like I'm a brand, right? Like people really love to hear what I have to say, right? In a humble way. Like I really learned that radio was for me because I loved community. And I've always known that I love people, but I really learned like being a radio personality, you're out there hugging, showing up, doing, food drives. And it was about being on the radio, but to me, it filled my soul so much because I was out there like, what's up? What's up to the people? Like I feel like a politician,
Yeah.
A good politician. Exactly. And then from there, that's kind of like what gave me my ground as RaqC, where I realized, like, you know what, you have a voice. Like you have a voice, you matter. Women look up to you because of your drive, how I just believe.
Ooh, I lost you.
How do I like not get calls while I'm doing this? People trying to call me.
I know you got to put on your do not disturb. You got to put on your do not disturb.
Calls while I'm doing this. Do not disturb. Okay, situation. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. You guys.
We're having some technical difficulties.
Is it the moon?
Okay, we're back.
Is the moon that do not disturb?
It's on your settings on your phone, so you would have to like get out of the live, go to your settings, and put on do not disturb. So hopefully,
okay, I get it on the moon, girl. I'm hoping that do not disturb is the moon. What was I saying? Where was I at? So yeah, girl, like I just kind of tapped into my own brand of like, what I looked into the mirror after I got out of traditional radio. And a lot of times when you do work for a big corporate company or you're in the corporate world, a lot of times you get your validation from the company that you work with, right? And you're just like, yeah, I work for this company. Here's my business card. And that, there is, because I went through that. There's a certain sense of like, I'm amazing because I'm on iHeartRadio. I'm amazing because I work for, CBS. It's that validation. So when I stepped out of the corporate world and I had to realize like I'm valuable without a corporate company backing me up, is when I really started tapping into me and who RaqC is and what RaqC brings to the table and what I say matters. And that's really a powerful awakening. And that's when you're able to really teach others and other women, like, listen, it doesn't matter if you're not working for a company. What matters is that you know who you are, you know what you bring to the table, and you know your worth, you know your self-worth. And to me, that was a big game changer in my brand of like, listen, I'm dope, whether I work for a company or not. Like, I bring a lot to the table. So yeah, I hope whoever made, I think right now in this whole quarantine moment, a lot of people are maybe realizing like, dang, like I need to do a major shift in my life. I need to step away from a corporate world. I need to really start pursuing my passions. I just feel like so many light bulbs are going off in this moment that for a lot of people might look like such a negative space. I feel like if you change your perspective a little bit, a lot of good could really come out of this situation.
So let me ask you this. So now you are in the social space. You put a lot of yourself online, a lot of what makes RaqC unique, and also you as a person and your brand. Do you feel that confidence or that bravery to really show up as your full self online to the world came from you starting in entertainment and people are naturally encouraged to entertain and be you? Or if not, where did you get that type of confianza to really come out and be true to who you are?
That's a great question. I always get asked that question. You know what? Ever since I was a little girl, I think being the baby of my family has really helped me because my family I have a really supportive family, thank God. And although my parents are not married, I had that foundation of both mom and dad in my house till I was 15 years old. And my mom and my dad, they always kind of let me be in my own world. And I think a lot of times when I would feel misunderstood, I always just went into my own world where I understood me, And even though you have the influence of mom, dad, brother, sister, I'm talking about like your nucleus family that, you're raised with. I always would like, if something didn't, if I ever felt like I was being discouraged, or if I ever felt like they weren't understanding me, I always was kind of like, listen, I understand me. Like, that's all that matters, you know?
Right.
And I've always had that personality since I was a little girl. And you know, I have a podcast now with my sister, and we had our mom on the other day. And I was like, we were talking about that, you know, my sister and my mom were like, you've always lived in your own world. And I think that that is such a great thing to adapt, even as adults, because, you know, as adults, we come across, whether it be a relationship that emotionally abuses us, or whether it be a boss that doesn't know how to value the amazing person that we are, or whether it be your own self dialogue, right?
Right.
It's like you really got to sometimes retreat into your own world and say, listen, like, I don't care if nobody understands me. I'm amazing. And you have to go into this, and it's not even being self-absorbed. It's really understanding that you are enough, and retreating into your own world, not caring what anybody's going to think about you. And that doesn't mean you're not open to having a mentor. That doesn't mean that you're not open to constructive criticism at all. It doesn't mean that you're closing yourself off to things like that, because listen, constructive criticism is necessary. Mentorship is necessary. We don't know it all. But when you know that you're about the right intentions and you're doing things for the right reasons, and people want to knock you down anyway,
Right.
sometimes you got to really learn how to like shut it off and say, listen, be kind, and just go into your own world and say, listen, I get me. I get me. And I'm not going to let none of these people's opinions of me, you know, affect me. And I'm just going to retreat into my own world. And that's what I do. I always say, like, the A team for me is me and God. You know, like, it's me and him. It's a small team, but it's a major team. And so, like, if I feel like I'm being misunderstood, when I know that my intentions are right, or that my vision is clear, I retreat into my own world, and I stay true to that. And so some people don't know how to do that because they're so affected by what other people think. And I'm just like, no, I'm like a snail. You know, when you put salt on that snail, woo, that snail goes right back in. And I'm just like, I'm good. Keep your salt to yourself, because I understand me. So I've always had that personality since I was a little girl. But being in entertainment, I think it's definitely given me, like, I'm able to recognize that I'm a great entertainer, you know, and that I shouldn't be afraid to be on camera, and I shouldn't switch myself up either, though, because I've seen people in entertainment that they're one person on camera and then they're like a completely different way off camera. And it's weird to see it. And so I tell my audience, listen, what you see is what you get.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I need everybody in here to write "BU" in the comments, because I think that's really important and something that we always need a reminder of. So if everybody can write "BU" in the comments to let us know that you are hearing this message from RaqC, that would be dope. So my next question is, how do you make money in this space?
How do you make money in this space? Yeah, you know, that's a great freaking question. You know, that's a really good question, especially in moments like this, right?
Right.
My thing is, like, when you become your own brand, what I will tell creatives is you got to learn how to make your creativeness profitable, right? Um, creativity is your greatest weapon, right? Because like, for example, myself, right, when I started realizing that I was an independent talent, and that I wasn't making that salary every 2 weeks from a company, from endorsements and from different things, I had to tap into my creativity of like, okay, now what? Now what? Now what are you gonna do, right?
Right.
So when I stepped out of traditional radio, like 5 years ago, I had just bought in my house. And I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God. You know, and I bought my house by myself in LA. I didn't know boyfriend, no husband to co-sign for me. Like, I saved money for my down. I worked on my credit. It was all me, right? And God, thank God he allowed me and put me in that situation. And I was freaking out. And I was like, oh, now what? Like, how am I going to pay my bill? Right? How am I going to pay my bills? And it really, like, it was a moment of like, become creative, right? And so I created for myself. I created my own brand called Brazen by RaqC, where I sell glasses. I create like custom shirts, hats. So that was one of my revenues of income. I started doing a lot more speaking engagements, right? A lot more speaking engagements, a lot more a lot of type of live activities and live events that I knew that only I could host, right? And you know, other people could host things like that, but only I am me, and only I can deliver the message the way I knew that I needed to deliver to my audience, right?
Right.
And it's just like working with brands, you know, not being afraid. If Pepsi's going to call me for a deal, if the Latin Grammys are going to call me to cover the red carpet, I'm not going to be afraid to shoot for what I feel that I'm worth. You know what I
So
mean?
let's talk about that number, because I think women in particular have difficulty talking numbers. So how did you figure out, you know, what your worth was and how much you were going
You
to
know what? At the beginning, you literally are throwing out numbers when you're starting, and you're just like, oh my God, okay, so they're asking me how much would I charge to do a video and 2 posts on Instagram. And some people are just really, they just shoot super low, you know, and those people that are shooting super low, they kill it for the
right,
people that are
right,
shooting super high,
right,
right? But also the people that are shooting super low are not going to give the results that a person that is shooting. Let's just say you're asking for $10,000 for a campaign, and somebody's like willing to settle for 2,000. The person that's asking for 10,000 is obviously going to produce better results than the person that's asking for 2,000.
mm-hmm.
But there's brands that are cheap, but there's also brands that know what they want. So they're like, okay, 10,000 is what it is. You know, like that's what you want. That's what I'll give you. So at the beginning, when I first started doing the independent thing, I really didn't know what to base my price on. I would just base it on like what I thought I wanted to get paid, what I knew would cover my bills, and that was it. But then, you know, I got a management team that started working with me. And so they were doing things like okay, so for every cost per this, and they would break it down like technically for me. So now I'm not afraid to shoot high, even if you're gonna bring me down a little bit. I know that what I'm shooting for is what I'm worth, and then some. You know what I mean? So especially women that are watching this, I know women that are afraid to go big. They're afraid, and they're just like, okay, because let's just say you're doing a campaign with the brand, and you're asking them for $2,000. They're gonna bring you down to $1,000.
Right.
Best believe that when you're working with these agencies and these brands, they will try to make you go lower. And so you want to shoot for high, so that way if they knock you down of $2,000, they're still going to be paying you what you originally in your mind had thought of. So you got to learn how to be creative with it. You know, like I started doing a lot of public speaking. I started doing a lot of creative sales with my own brand. I started doing a lot of working with different brand partnerships. And my thing with brand partnerships is a lot of people, when they think of brand partnerships, they think of like one-offs, right? Like it's just like this one opportunity with, let's just say, like AT&T. My suggestion to people that are trying to make money working with brands is try to create a long-term relationship with these brands. Try to pitch them something that they're not going to be able to refuse, and try to create like a year-long campaign with them, even if it's like
only. Give us an example of what a year campaign would even look like. Like, what would that consist of?
So like a year-long campaign from, let's just say I were to pitch, obviously each brand is looking for different things, right? And obviously each brand won't say yes to your ideas, because my ideas could be wild, you know, and some brands are like, oh, you know, that's a little, that we weren't in. A lot of companies are very like corporately structured, and like, that's not safe. That's a little, you know, like, that's a little out there. I get that a lot from brands. That's a little out there, RaqC. And I'm like, yeah, but people like that. People like real talk. People don't like this corporate, you know, talk. Like people don't relate to that. You know what I mean? So like for me, for example, a campaign that I would pitch to a brand would be like helping them create video content around what their concept is, right? Let's just say they want to hire me for like a one-off, and I'm trying to create like a year-long campaign. I'll pitch to them maybe creating video content that's able to live on their platforms for a longer period of time versus just like a one-off campaign. You know what I mean? And it takes time though. Like if you're going to pitch a brand something, take time with your presentation. Like learn how to work PowerPoint, learn how to really, like if you're going to pitch a brand a campaign for a whole year, for a year long, you better pitch them something on a PowerPoint that's going to probably take you like a week to put together. Research their company, research their why, and like what is their deliverables, what is their message that they really want to get out there, and expand it and present decks to these companies where like to the point where like once you present it to them, they're going to not be able to say no to you because it's so good and nobody could deliver that content but you. So don't be afraid to do things that are not normal, are not safe. I think so many people play life so safe. Everybody just wants to do the safe thing. And I'm like, listen, now more than ever, we're realizing that safe is just not the way to go. Like, but it's so funny, Victoria, because we're raised to do things safe. We're raised to do things, and you wake up and you go to school and you get your degree, which I love education, don't get me wrong, and you get your 401k and then you retire. But like nobody is talking to their kids and saying, well, listen, how about you pursue an entrepreneurial career? Like, what is your heart desire? What is your passion? You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I'm so thankful that I was able to discover my passion at a young age, which is communication with people. I love communication with people. I love being relatable, you know, and I love being a multifaceted woman. I love that I could create balance. I could turn up, but at the same time, I can get a message across when necessary, because too much of one thing is not good either, right? Like I'm a lifestyle influencer. Like my lifestyle is what it is, right? It's not a front. It's not like, listen, it's not always easy to pay all your bills, but you know what? I get it done every month.
Right.
And I do it with my creativity. So when somebody tells me, no, I can't, I'm like, no, yes, you can.
So I want to go back to this year-long campaign. So one of the ways that you can deliver content in a campaign is video. Like, what would be another way for you to engage, or is video kind of like what you can break down over a year?
You know what? I guess it really depends on like what a brand is looking for. I guess my overall point of when you're pitching to brands and when you really want to present yourself to brands is present to them something that the average, you know, influencer, the average person wouldn't pitch to them. Like make them see the value of you. Make them see the value of your creativity. Make them see that you want to have a long-term relationship with this brand. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like make them partners in something. Like just, you know, it just obviously it depends on what the brand wants. And then you listen to the brand clearly on what they want, and then you pitch to them something that caters to their needs, but is outside of the box as well. Like that's my thing with people and with kids and teenagers and women is don't be afraid to think out of the box and pitch out of the box, because the worst thing you could hear is no. But another thing you could hear is, oh my God, we absolutely love that idea.
Right.
You know what I mean? So imagine focusing on, they're going to love my idea and they're going to say yes.
Yeah. So my last question on this, because I want to drive this home for people, is what was my last question on this? I just lost
your wheels are turning in your head.
Hold on, because it was a good one. Oh, this was it. So is there like a hub or kind of like a central depository where folks in the influencer space can like go to get like information on like, how do I price this, or a template on a pitch, or is there something like that that exists?
You know what? Online, no. I think it's kind of like a learning process. And I mean, I know there's conferences like Hispanicize. I don't know if you've ever heard of Hispanicize. But it's been around for 10 years. They do it every year. Last year, they actually had the Tecla Awards, which are awards that honor different influencers in different spaces, whether it's cooking, comedy, creative, workout, fitness, all that stuff. And I actually hosted the awards last year. It was so fun. I did like an opening monologue on the power of hustle. Okay, so let me show you a perfect idea here. So I got hired, right, to host the Tecla Awards, right? And so I knew the two organizers. And I told them, you know what? You know, whoever's going to host the Tecla Awards, not knowing that they were going to ask me to host it along with this other comedian from HBO. His name is Eric Rivera. And I said, you know, like the Oscars when Jimmy Kimmel hosts and he does like an opening monologue, right? And have you ever seen when he does like an opening monologue?
Yes.
And it like grabs people's attention because he's in his monologue, right? And I said, if I were to host something like that, like I would open with the powerful monologue about the power of hustle. Because one thing I do know is that Latinos are one of the biggest hustlers out there. we find a way to make money, and we just don't stop, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then so then they offer me to host a teclas, and they're like, listen, we like the idea of you doing the opening monologue. Can you do it? And I'm like, oh. I was like, oh my God, you see what happens when you open your mouth, and the organizers like the idea.
Right.
And because it was true, I said, why do we gotta be like every single award show and just be like, hi, everybody, welcome to the 10th annual? Like, that's boring.
Right.
That's so boring. Why don't we start? And let me tell you, after I hosted the class, everybody came up to me, even days after on my DMs. People were like, "Oh my God, RaqC, we loved your monologue," because I literally was in it. You know, like I had to literally block the thousands of people that were there, and I went into my monologue, and I had always wanted to perform a monologue, and
I love it.
And it was like, I didn't really have that much time to prepare, but it came out amazing. And I was so proud of myself. But, you know, I spoke up about what I thought should have been done, and boom, they loved it. So it was like, I got hired, and then I got to perform my monologue. So brands love innovative thinkers, you know? So I encourage you, especially in moments like right now, especially if you're like a single mom and you're never stuck.
Right.
You're just not tapping into your creativity enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just like, if people always ask me this question, Victoria, how do I discover my passion? And I always tell people, what makes you feel alive?
Mm-hmm.
What when you close your eyes, what makes you smile? Besides your family, I get it. But let's just say it is your family.
Right.
You know, what if you guys start a YouTube channel? What if you guys start like a mug line? Whatever makes you smile is what your passion is. Whatever makes your heart, that you could imagine yourself waking up every day and saying, this makes me smile. And it's not necessarily a job.
Right.
You know what I mean? A job, I remember one of my business coaches, she told me, let me tell you what job really means, RaqC. And I said, what? She's like, just over broke. Is that the way you want to live your life? And I was like, what? And she goes, yeah, that's what job means. And she was a little rough. Like, my coaches are kind of rough with me, but I like it that way.
You need those.
I need those, you know, but you know, it's just, I know people that are struggling with that right now, that have written to me, because a lot of women write to me. I have a nonprofit organization for women. I've had it for 8 years. And so a lot of women write to me their different stories, and they really pour their heart out. You know, I've heard it all, believe it or not. And so, you know, there's women that are struggling with that. They're just like, I hate my job, but I talk to my family, and my family tells me that the right thing to do is stay there.
Right.
Because they want you to be okay. They want, you know, like, but they're not happy. They're not happy. So I just say, you know, when you feel stuck, tap into your creativity. And let me tell you something. That's one thing we all have, is a creative side. Some people just tap into it more than others. The people that you admire and you're like, oh my God, all they did was tap into their creativity.
Right.
You know, in a fearless way. So I just say, like, follow people that you admire. Don't be afraid to go to these conferences like Hispanicize. They have workshops at these conferences that talk about that. How do I price a campaign? How do I know my worth? How do I know how many posts am I supposed to post if they're only paying me $2,000? Like, all these questions. It's a 2-day conference, and there's like all these workshops during that conference. So it's a real big eye opener.
So let's talk about this, because I think this is something that a lot of people struggle with as well. Is, you know how you were so freely giving your idea to the organizers of Hispanicize, and that eventually landed you a gig. But some folks feel like if they share their idea, they're giving away their secret sauce, or they're giving away their magic. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, listen. That's a really good question, because I feel like when you are in that space, you're coming from a place of lack. You know what I mean? I try to say, and I try to be in a place of abundance, and I always try to come from a place of abundance, right? Ultimately, whether I would have got hired for that gig or not, which I really didn't know that they were going to ask me to host. I seriously did not know that. But all I know is that if they would have gone with somebody else, nobody else would have been able to perform that monologue like me. You know what I mean? And so I feel like when you come from that place of like, oh, I don't want to share my ideas, I don't want to, with like, you're just trying to like hog all the information up, I feel like you don't get blessed in that way. You know, are you going to give all your secrets on how you do things? No, because nobody does, right? But don't be afraid to share ideas, especially when you know that you are one of one and nobody can do it the way you do it. You know, and so I feel like as people, we need to realize, like, come from a place of abundance, man. There's enough to go around for everybody. And when you're in your own lane, creating your own ideas from your epic brain, who's gonna compete with you?
Right.
You know, trust me, I work with a lot of women, and I've had people throughout my whole career, and I've seen women that are close to me, will learn from me, and I've seen them go off to create their own events, and I'm just like, good for them, but they'll never do it the way I do it. And I don't even mean it from a place of malice or jealousy or envy. But what I do see is, like, you know what? That's another woman that has learned from me, that's out there spreading positivity and awareness in whatever she does and however she does it, right? Do I wish people were a little bit more unique? Yeah. But being a leader, listen, when you're a leader, people are gonna bite you, and they're gonna look at you. They say successful people leave clues, and smart people are gonna look at those clues, and they're gonna pick up on those clues, and they're gonna create them and recreate them in their own way. So when you're a leader and you understand that, people are gonna copy you. You know, it's like, how many, you know what I mean? Like, Kim Kardashian wears something, and in 5 minutes, Fashion Nova has a duplicate of it.
Right.
You think Kim's losing sleep over that? She probably was at the beginning, but it's like, oh well. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Life goes on, and you just stay grinding in your own lane, and you find ways to reinvent. Innovation is like a major key in the game of life. You got to constantly, like, just reinvent, and tapping into your creativity is your greatest weapon, I feel.
So let's talk about your creativity, because you have this segment that you do, your car confessions.
Yes,
and
on
that's
Snapchat.
On
Snapchat.
Girl. On Snapchat, 6 million followers.
Girl, my Snapchat following is insane. You know what's crazy is a lot of people said that Snapchat was dying like a year ago. And I always thought to myself, no, there's no way. Like, Snapchat is where it's at. I like it because it's more of like an intimate storytelling app. Girl, well, let me tell you, I never stopped posting on Snapchat because Instagram stories came out. So everybody thought IG stories was like it, right? Everybody put all their eggs in the Instagram story basket. And I was like, okay, one thing I've learned, honey, let me tell you one thing I've learned. Mm-hmm. One thing I've learned, not working for a company anymore, is you cannot put all your eggs in one basket. And that was me for a long time, working for a radio station on that contract. I was like, I'm good. I got money from endorsements. I got my salary check. I got comfortable. I got comfortable, and I was blessed, right? Because I was on good contracts. But I never, ever searched for other ways to make money, because I knew that I had a guaranteed salary coming to me every 2 weeks with endorsement money. And I was like, good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I never felt this need to be creative and to find other ways to make money. So, where were we going?
Wait, let's talk about this for a second. I asked you about car confessions, but we're going to come back to that because you just made me think about something else that is really interesting. How do you keep up on all of these platforms?
You know what? I love it. I love it. And I always tell people, if you think you know me through my Instagram stories, I post way more on my Snapchat. So what I was going to tell you is I never stopped using Snapchat because I gravitated to the application a little bit more. It was more private, more intimate. I'm a storyteller. I love sharing stories. I'm just a storyteller, right? I think that's what makes me a good radio personality, because radio is theater of the mind. If I'm on the air and I tell people, oh my God, you guys, and I open up a break and I say, you guys, the FBI just surrounded this building, everybody's going to believe me. It's like there's power in storytelling. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so I think that's why I like Snapchat. So one day, this guy that works for like the operations of Snapchat, he like helps them develop the app or whatever. He's like, listen, RaqC, I work for Snapchat and I'm hooked on your stories. And I say, you do? I said, man, Snapchat needs to invite me to go up to their headquarters in Santa Monica. Right. So he goes, yeah, I can make that happen for you. Ooh. Right? Mm-hmm. So girl, tell me why I get invited to the Snapchat headquarters in Santa Monica. To be honest, mostly everybody there was white. right? And I'm like, it's all good. I go up there. And so the guy was like, what are you doing on your Snapchat? Like, your engagement is through the roof. And I said, I just use the app. I use the app. I love it. Girl, they like verified me on the spot. I didn't even know you could get verified on Snapchat.
Right.
And every 28 days, I get between 6.3 to 7 million eyeballs on my story. And people that think that Snapchat is dead, there's over 200 million daily users on Snapchat. 200 million. So if you're a brand out there that's watching this, or you're an independent personality, you're missing out. Am I saying you're going to access all 200 million people? No. But there's a big chunk of people that are on Snapchat that are not on Instagram. So if you're a brand, you got to start thinking, okay, how can I get my message out there? Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever it is to you, even Twitter. Keep your Twitter updated. Even though you think nobody's on it, there's some people that are still on it, right? Like, you gotta find. And so me as an independent brand, I know that about myself. Like, I want to get my message out there. Like, I'm doing a 72-hour fast. I start tonight at midnight. I'm not just gonna invite my Instagram people, I'm inviting my Snapchat people. So I got thousands of people doing this fast with me until Saturday night at midnight. So if you want to get your message, if you want to get your brand, Snapchat also has a swipe up option. So if you're a brand, like I have my own jewelry collection too. Whenever I want sales or I want to promote something on there, I put the swipe up option and boom, there go more sales. You know what I'm saying? So you got to just, so all these creative outlets to make money, if you're not active on them because you're like, oh, I don't like social media. If that's the attitude you're going to have towards it versus like, you know what? Let me create unique content for each platform and let me just see my sales go up.
So do you have a team that helps you do all of this, or this is you developing the content?
I have a team that helps me negotiate my deals with big brands, but besides that, I do it by myself.
So how much does it cost to have a team to back you up?
Well, you know what? A lot of times when you have a team like that negotiate your brand deals, they work off of a percentage.
Okay.
So like whatever percentage you decide to pay them, that's their payment in exchange for, you know, helping you keep your deck up to date, negotiating these making sure that everything is on point when you show up to the gig, and all the fine print is, and all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted. So that's the way you pay a team when they work with you, is they get their money through their commission payment.
And would you say like that commission is like 5 to 10%? Is it 15%?
Well, standard commission in entertainment is 10%. It's a 10% commission. What now? If you have a team that's producing excellent results for you and they're constantly getting you work and they bring it to the table that, hey, you know what? We want our commission to go a little bit up because we're constantly getting you work. You should probably consider that, you know. But if you're getting yourself most of your work, then maybe they should stay on a 10% commission. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna have a team, it's really for them to bring things to the table for you. But if you feel like they're not bringing things to the table and you're getting things more done efficiently yourself, it's like, do you really need a team? You know, I hear a lot of success stories of celebrities or brands that started off as like, I was the one answering the email, pretending that I was, you know, there's a lot of people that start off like that. And then eventually they get their team. So it's like, just do whatever works for you. You know what I mean? If you feel you're at a point to get a team that could commission off of you, then do that. But if you feel like you can handle it, and you want to stay sane too. You don't want to be doing so much that you're like losing your organization and you're just like, oh my God, I forgot to answer this person, and you're letting opportunities slip through the crack. Then you might need a team to keep you organized. But me, I feel like I've learned, just even with my career at the beginning, I've learned how to multitask like a mother. So it really does help me a lot.
Yeah. So back to the car confessions. I would like to know, if you remember, what is your most intimate story that you shared on your car confessions?
Oh my God, I love car confessions. I have this thing that when I get into my car, I just feel like the Jetsons. You know, like the Jetsons, like when the little cover goes over the car, like in your own little bubble. I love the Jetsons. And so when I get into my car, it's like my little bubble of I just love being in my car. I love being in my car. I just love moving. I love driving. So one of my most intimate stories that I shared was how I believe that I probably, oh my God. This is why I love Snapchat, you guys, because I'm way more vulnerable on Snapchat. I shared a story about an ex-boyfriend that I had that if I would have chosen to be a little bit more patient with him, we probably would have gotten married and had kids. Mm. But he was a big mama's boy. Mm-hmm. And that didn't work for me. And you know, it was a big like I just feel like he didn't know how to prioritize me. And I prioritized him big time. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't feel like I was getting reciprocated. And so I won't share that on Instagram. But on Snapchat, I have these moments of vulnerability. And I really, really think if you are somebody out there that is on social media, your audience will really appreciate things like that because you show your real side. You know, you know, another story that I shared on Snapchat is when my dog Turbo passed away. I had a pit bull. He was 15 years old in 8 months. He passed away in my house. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to go through because he was like my best friend. He was my dog. Like I had him since he was 2 months, you know? Mm. And it was a moment of like vulnerability the next morning when I woke up and I realized like he was still in my living room frozen because they were going to come pick him up. And I didn't show him, but it was so, you know, those are the kind of things that I don't share on Instagram because it's too personal. And so Snapchat, I think that's why my following is really high on Snapchat because they really get to see another side of RaqC, and Instagram probably won't ever see that because it's just, I just feel like Instagram, there's more brands on there and it's more like you got to be more politically correct a little bit. You know what I mean? And on Snapchat, I just go ham.
I love it. Okay. This has been so good. Thank you so much. But this is a question that I ask all of my guests. And it is, why are you a woman who roars?
Why am I a woman who roars? Ooh, I love that question. I'm a woman who roars because I truly believe in the power of my voice. I truly believe in leadership. And I truly believe that a true leader creates other leaders. You know, will a true leader do everything perfectly? No. You know, will a true leader get criticized and nitpick that? Yes, it's part of the game. But a true leader creates other leaders. And I feel that when you walk your talk as much as you can in your own way, right? It really has a trickling effect on other women because they see that you could do it. They see that you're able to withstand things and talk about them openly, vulnerably. And so I'm a woman who roars because I believe in myself and I believe in my story. And I'm not afraid to put it out there and help other women grow into their greatness. And so I know for a fact that that's one of my purposes on this planet is to, through my story, through my voice, help other women become amazing and really realize that you don't need any external validation in this world. The only person you got to worry about is you and God or whatever you believe in. Like, that's it. That's the only person you should be trying to impress. That's the only person that you should be trying to stay in line for. But anybody else's opinion, even your own moms, like I love my mom and my sister and the people, the women in my family, but I'm not living my life for them. I'm living my life for me. Mm. And I think that just that alone is powerful. And I always want to be able to roar, you know, I always want to be able to do what I do and not really worry about what you have to think about me. I do it to the best of my ability. And that's one of the 4 agreements, you know, always do your best. And whatever your best looks like for you, then do that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow, this has been so good. I've learned so much. Thank you so much, Mama, for being
Thank you, love,
for being truthful, candid, for showing up as your beautiful, bubbly, insightful, intelligent self.
I love what you're doing with this.
Thank you, man.
See?
This is my creativity. This is where
great things are coming out of quarantine.
Exactly. Like this. Friends, let's get it together.
Let's get it, girl. I love it.
But thank you so much. I appreciate you, Mama. IG's gonna cut us off, or else I could continue.
Oh, they are? Oh, shoot, we better get off.
Yeah, I know. I could continue this on for hours. But thank you so much.
Thank you to everybody that tuned in. We love you guys. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for the love, and follow me on Snapchat.
Yeah, exactly.